Welcome to this new moon and equinox reading, and happy to bring this simple message to you and hope that it touches you in some way or another, and that you relate and can resonate with some of the stories that are coming up. I drew a few cards earlier. I'll show the first three. There was the fourth one that came out. And I'll just show you these three cards that come out. All wands. Look at that. Powerful message of wands to be seen. And the fourth one, there's the Emperor. The message is quite, or at least what came through earlier seemed to be a little bit clear for me, but we'll see what comes out now, and we'll see if there's anything extra that needs to be spoken about. I'll try and keep this reading as concise and clear and abbreviated as possible. The first card, and so it's the card that we're going to relate all the other cards back to, is this 4. And this 4 is such a strong and powerful card. If you see the symbolism, there's 2 figures raising their hands with kind of bunches of whatever it is they're holding in celebration of joy and abundance. The 4 wands are grounded in the earth and tied to the 4 wands, which is the symbol of abundance here. This looks a little bit like a celebration of a marriage or a celebration of this abundance, and the wands represent this grounded fire. And since fire is the hardest of the elements to actually ground, in other words, keep on the earth and root in the earth and be grounded in ourselves, there is call for celebration. What this refers to is the celebration of how we have rooted a certain amount of that fire inside of us, the fire representing our passion, representing our connection to our purpose, our hearts, our mission in life. And when we feel this connection to heart, when we understand it, when we recognize it, when we know how to find it, when we experience losing it and finding it several times in our life, 100 times, 1,000 times, when we know what it is, when we can recognize the actual tangible feelings, and we can recognize when we in our lives feel aligned with purpose and aligned with our mission and aligned with the fiery creativity that makes everything a little bit more enthusiastic and a little bit more exciting in different ways, and where inspiration is easy to find. We know what this feels like. We kind of know how to find it, and we've maybe done more than one thing in our life, more than one aspect of inner work, outer work, both, everything included, that has earthed this connection with our hearts, with our intuition, with our passion, and with the creativity that comes hand in hand with knowing what we want and what feels like a strong reason or purpose for being here. It's something that we're not taught at schools, to find purpose. We are, but we're conditioned to say, oh, purpose is here, purpose is there. We're not conditioned to ask, where is my purpose? So there has to have been a bit of this already in order to root, in order to ground ourselves, in order to ground these 4 wands inside of our body, and to feel grounded inside of a sense of purpose and a sense of passion for life. This passion can easily be something that comes and goes, as these next cards are going to speak a little bit about, because we have this one card that's the right way up, that's beautiful and wonderful, and something that we need to celebrate, and something that we need to appreciate inside of ourselves, inside of our lives. It's something that we need to recognize, and we need to find the worth in this. There is definitely a certain amount of inner communication that this card speaks about, which means that we have a certain amount of inner connection, a connection between our outer consciousness and our inner subconscious, which allows us to be clearer about who we are, about what we want, about what we are all about. And then all around this card in this reading, there are 3 upside down cards, all kind of telling the same story. Well, not the same story, but different aspects of it. So we have these 2 cards that come up either side of this positive sense of abundant creativity and purpose in our lives. And we'll just touch on them one by one. First of all, there, we doesn't want to be seen. Look at that. And that is part of his story. This reverse knight, so the shadow knight of wands, it's not a completely mature energy, hence it's a knight. It's our relationship with how we express our passion, how we express our fire. And he's definitely the fieriest of all the knights, of course. But this means he's going to be a little bit flamboyant and expressive, and his horse is rearing up. He's super enthusiastic, and there's different stories with this reverse knight, and let's see if you can relate to any of them. He can be over enthusiastic. He can be too excited. His ego can grab his enthusiasm and passion and be a little bit headless in his direction, as in he can be all about, yes, come on, let's do it. Let's make some transformation. Let's change the world. Let's change ourselves. Let's do it, without the maturity of clarity or clarity about how to go about that. He can be the fire that burns out quite quickly because the enthusiasm rages and gets everybody excited, gets ourselves excited. And then we realize, oh, we don't have a plan, or we don't have the maturity to know what to do with this. Or we don't have the clear vision, or we might lose that vision. We might lose direction. There's a certain temperance and balance that this knight, when he's reversed, he lacks a little bit of. And there's a certain qualities of our ego that come out where we might be afraid of the passion of this knight as well. So we've all experienced at different times in our lives, sometimes the getting really excited about something only to have the bubble burst and our high expectations trashed, and we've seen ourselves fall and fail. We've seen our expectations not met by others in the world around us, and we get really excited and have a clear vision, and then it's complicated to manifest, and it doesn't always work out the way we visualize that it should be able to work out. And so this knight's energy has got excited and burnt out 100 times in our memories, and it's very easy to distrust this energy because of the ups and downs that come when the fire that we hold inside burns out very quickly. So So this is an aspect which needs to be looked at, felt into, connected with, if we want to celebrate. And we remember, we're always coming back to this celebration of abundance. And this night is maybe a little bit too energetic and excited and enthusiastic on one level. And on another level, he might be afraid of his own enthusiasm because of the way his past experiences have taught him that this enthusiasm doesn't always lead to something positive, or it can have a nice spurt of joy, and then afterwards it can lead to a consequent down in energy, which is life balancing itself from highs. What goes up must come down. What goes down must also go up. But the trick is staying grounded and rooted like these 4 posts in the ground, these 4 wands, and at the same time reaching high and growing like the budding sprouts from the top of the wands, reaching to grow into trees to give this fruit that we are looking to create more of in our lives. So there's a mixture of enthusiasm and at the same time unfulfillment, enthusiasm and disappointment, you might say. There's a mixture of that because the ego will always dish out healthy excesses of both of these stories. There's a mixed amount of over-enthusiasm and apathy. There's a mixed amount of a certain amount of pride, of being sure and confident about ourselves, and then fearing that overconfidence often leads to falling flat on our faces, which is the pride that comes before the fall, which this card speaks a little bit about too. Again, somebody else on a horse speaking normally about victory and about success and about winning the battle and being the victor and holding your wand high and saying, hey, look, we have achieved so much. And there's a certain amount of achievement and beauty about this card. But again, it's upside down, representing that, yes, on one front, the ego can grab this, creating the shadow of self-importance when we win, creating the shadow of, yes, how great I am. And thinking also, there's this tendency that came up when I was looking at these cards to judge success in certain ways and to see our success in ways which don't always necessarily fall into alignment with what is real success for ourselves. So there's the world's version of success, there's society's version of success, and there's society's version of winning that we're all taught to buy into, some of which may well feel very aligned with our hearts, and then some of it won't, and we won't always distinguish one for the other. We might end up chasing. This night will often chase goals that aren't necessarily always aligned with his heart, but more aligned with his ego. Why? Because his ego wants to be special, because we want to be special, and we want to be seen in other people's eyes also as being successful, as being important, as being having a certain amount of confidence and pride, and to be able to hold our chest out and be that fiery Leo type energy. This card also speaks about this same success, but when it's reversed, it tries to give, or the card that's above, or the part of the card that's above, is the veil that's over the horse, which represents what is hidden behind our success. And if this was a march of success that's come after a battle or after fighting of some type, then there is always some defeat, some death, some destruction. There is always a huge amount of effort and maybe conflict which have preceded the victory, or and this can even be seen as, positive effort. A lot of work often is put into something that then gives fruit afterwards, that then manifests as this abundance. This abundance just doesn't come on its own. It's not like gifted in a way. It's something that comes from a certain amount of sacrifice, and that sacrifice is usually sacrifice of time and work and effort and consistency and persistency and focus and direction and failing and then succeeding and picking ourselves up and then failing again and picking ourselves up, and making this continuous choice to stay aligned, forgetting that we're aligned with our heart, losing ourselves, becoming all ego, fear-based, diving into stories in our life, making choices that are not so successful, and then lifting ourselves up again. We find this is a cyclic story that we are kind of always in on one level or another, where we fail one moment and we succeed the next, and we fail again and we succeed at the next, and we're striving for some sort of balanced success in our life, what we might judge as being balanced success. But this card is speaking about a success which is already there, so it calls for us to focus on that positivity, on how grounded we know we actually are, and how much awareness we actually do have about why we're here. And it's something that actually can't be taken away. So once these 4 wands are grounded, the 4 is this very strong, stable number. And it's stable because once you ground those 4 posts in the ground, then you have something strong upon which to build your life's future. And this strength is in the understanding that can't be actually taken away. You can forget it. We can all forget why we're here. We can all forget our sense of purpose. We can all forget to be and to choose to be aligned with our hearts, and we will. But once we've known it, we won't be able to stay away for that long. Saying that, I've forgotten for different periods of time, but then bringing ourselves back, it's something that once you found that groundedness, you can't exactly be completely lost ever again. You can appear to be quite lost, but you can never really be that lost again, because you found something that has given you a sense of worth. You found something that's connected you to your heart. You know what it feels like. You may lose it, but you can find it again. And you can find it again and again and again. And once you know it's there, it's something that will always be in our memories. It will always be there for us. And the Emperor, again, so we've got all this fiery energy. So these are 3 wands down here. And then we've got the Emperor, who's also quite fiery. He's got the figures of the Aries ram. And, it's very red and fiery in nature. I mean, it's not... And again, he's number 4 as well. So he's got this grounded energy, which is also reversed. So the Emperor is also kind of a key message in this reading, speaking about how we sometimes give up our consistency, we give up our persistence, we give up our will, and we give up our choices a lot. The Emperor is the part of us that's much more wise than we always manifest and we always reflect in the world. He's the part of us that knows which are the best choices to make in different times. This is why he's the Emperor inside of us. This is why he rules. And he rules quite strongly and sternly, and he's willing to act. And he's got the symbolism of Aries here because he's not afraid to do something new or do something different or start something from fresh. And it's that energy that we sometimes need to keep this fire lit. So I was thinking, wow, so much fire. What's all that about? And then I was looking at the four elements of earth, water, air, and fire. Earth is so stable and strong, and it just sits there like a rock, and it just is. Then water, yeah, it flows, it changes into different forms. It becomes clouds and rain and snow and ice and rivers and sea and ocean, but it's still there. It moves and changes, but we don't have to do much about it. And the air, however invisible it is just doing its thing as well. But fire is slightly different. How looking at it and thinking, wow, the only places where fire exists is inside of a volcano or the Earth's core or on the sun. If we want to make fire, we have to make it. We have to make it happen in the fire and the electricity that heats our houses and that warms our bodies, or just building a fire. It needs consistent attention. It needs a constant effort that we need to feed it. We need to feed a fire all the time to keep it alive. Unlike the other elements, if I don't feed that fire, it'll disappear. The sun will not go away for sure, and the sun is kind of always there. But if I want fire that I can use a little bit more than that sun, then I need to create it. I need to create that element. And if I'm going to be that creator element of my bounty, of my abundance, then I'm going to need some consistency. I'm going to need a certain amount of discipline, which this guy brings upon. I'm going to need to make choices and start new things, because what feeds that fire is not going to be the same piece of wood that I cut up yesterday. Maybe that's all spent today. I'm going to have to cut something else. I'm going to have to try a new place. I'm going to go and look for some new things to feed this fire and to keep it alive. And there's a little bit of this endurance type energy that this guy lacks, because he'll get all excited and then run out of energy or run out of enthusiasm because he loses direction and focus, because of the lack of maturity, and because sometimes wanting to do things too quickly and to be a little bit impatient about getting the success and the results that we want. And this card will speak quite strongly about sometimes having to let go of old things and allow things to die, allow ourselves to fail sometimes, because it's quite often in our failures that we learn the more beautiful lessons that teach us. Oh, the fire is nearly out. Oh my gosh, I'm getting cold. I'm losing my success. I'm losing that abundance. I'm losing that excitement. I'm losing that passion for life. And it's in those losses that we learn to look for new outlets, look for new ways of bringing in our fire, look to be more consistent about the old ways that we know how to stay connected to our hearts, the old ways that we know how to be and hold that conviction of what walking our life with purpose actually means. Because we've got a version of it, and it might be a very general version that we need to hold on to and maybe make a little bit more specific if that's where we are in our life. But we definitely need to hold on to it and not forget it, because maybe you feel like you are here for, I don't know, to help this world in some way or another, to raise the vibration of this planet, raising your own vibration at the same time. Maybe you feel like you're here to heal a couple of old stories that you're running around with, and at the same time help heal those stories in the collective consciousness. Maybe you feel like your heart is calling for you to be of service of some type or other, to inspire inspire this kind of unconscious world that we all live in, ourselves included, to be a little bit less unconscious. Maybe you feel like we're here to remind each other that we're beautiful beings of light, full of love and all of that. It doesn't matter what feels aligned with our hearts. It doesn't matter what our heart speaks to us about or what the wording is. But what is important is to feel the connection to a sense of purpose. And it can be so broad and so open that it can be easy to connect to. We need to remember it, and we need to keep this fire alive. We need to keep it abundant, especially in this day and age where it's easy to fall into fear and fall into doubt and fall into false beliefs of lack and unworthiness, which will bring and put the fire out quite often. Bring the fire down low for sure. The ego is definitely in charge of a bunch of our lives, and we can recognize this. We can own this. We can see that, yes, sometimes I get a little bit carried away. There's a pride here that can be a beautiful pride of self-confidence and self-worth, but it can also be an ego pride that will make us fall on our face and end up losing what we might have think is success. Because success is something that we are here to share, to remind the world about. Success is something that we need to feel inside of our bodies. And I know I don't always do a great job of this, but every morning I sit in meditation and try and remind myself of how amazing my life actually is, instead of thinking about all the things that I've lost in the past, and all the things that I don't have anymore, and all the things that I can't do because I'm this old, or that, I don't know, because I've lost this and I don't have that, and there are things missing, whatever. There's always going to be things missing to your grand jigsaw puzzle scheme that you might have been taught as success. But right now, finding real success is a present moment awareness of the abundance that we have managed to ground in our lives right here, right now. Feel it, sense it, empower it, remind other people about it, celebrate it with a loved one, get up and really appreciate the abundance that we have, and find out what that is, even if it's the abundance of being able to love, even if it's the abundance of being able to feel, or just the abundance of just being alive. There are very simple things that we can feel grateful for, all of which are much more powerful and much more important in our creative process than and much more important staying aligned with our hearts than thinking of fears, thinking of lacks, and thinking of being egotistically special. There's much more in this reading that I'm sure that I could speak about for hours on end, but I'm going to leave this reading here. Wish you all the most wonderful equinox and new moon, and I encourage you to let go of whatever you need to let go of, plant some wonderful seeds of new thoughts and new ideas about how abundant your life actually is. Practice a little bit of appreciation and see what it brings to you, and see where or how you can change your energy in a most positive way. Maybe shift some of these upside down cards, understand the shadow nature of all these cards, find a little bit of strong wisdom and consistency, try something new that might bring that fire alive and inspire you even more. Have a fantastic day, week and month, and I'll see you soon. All the best.